Ka whati te tau, ka pau te tōria. It's a very passive-aggressive but subtle and beautiful way of saying, please take your seats.
Thank you for the next session is going to be the developers section, and it's going to be representatives from Mitsui Energy, also Woodside Energy and Meridian Energy. And I'm not sure who wants to go first. Murray?
Kia ora, Terry. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Murray Toku Ingoa, no Wairarapa ahau. Ko te herenga ko mata e mahi mana, e mahi ana. Nō re rā, tēnā koutou katoa. Hi everyone, my name's Murray and I'm from Meridian Energy. At present I head up the New Ventures team who have been responsible for driving the Southern Green Hydrogen project over the last 18 months to 2 years. It's a pleasure to be here, Terry. And you know, this represents the first time we as project partners have come together to present the project. So it's a bit of a milestone for us, and it does really feel like we're at the start line now. I know that might sound odd, but we've been working pretty hard, especially around selecting our partners for this project and bringing this joint venture together. So yeah, for our team, who I should probably ask to throw some hands in the air. We are at the start line now, and it's going to get busy. So thanks in advance, and thanks for the mahi today. So today, look, the aim is, in this reasonably short slot, to give an overview to everyone of Southern Green Hydrogen. And yeah, look, we'll be covering off the basics of the project, a bit of background on how the partnership has come together, and then Gabrielle and Oki-san will cover off some of the development approaches ahead of us, a bit about the marketing approach in terms of how this product will be marketed, and then we'll end with, I think, really some thoughts around what this audience or stakeholders in Murihiku can expect from us as a project team, but also as a project. Before we get into it, I suppose a bit of reflection from my perspective, but I think many of us that are working on the project, this is really exciting for us, and it's for a number of reasons. You know, this is the type of project that the world needs into the future. It represents that really well. It's you know, it's a green project, and as we've heard in the last day and a half, those are types of projects that need to get away. The other aspect that makes this really exciting for us is just the sheer ambition of this project, and it is ambitious, and we know that, and we go into it eyes wide open. In terms of the scale of the project, and also the timing. You know, this market is still emerging, so that does present some challenges for us, but we're up for that challenge, and those are the things we'll be working on over the next couple of years. And yeah, finally, I suppose this project is an opportunity for our respective organisations, but for this region, to really take a leadership position in this green hydrogen market. So, what is Southern Green Hydrogen? In basic terms, it's a large-scale industrial facility that will produce green ammonia. And when we started this, it was initiated around an announcement of the smelter closing. So from that point, it has been based around a 600 megawatt facility that will produce up to 500,000 tonnes per annum of green ammonia. So yeah, that's the basics of what we're proposing and where the development effort will go. As I said, Gabrielle and Oki will dive into a bit more detail. Just a couple of interesting points to note though. Obviously this project will rely on and utilise the renewable resources of this region, both existing and more than likely new generation that will come to market. In order to get this project away on the timeframes that we are thinking about, it will certainly rely on securing offtake agreements for the product at those sorts of, at large scale. So that does really mean focusing on the international market initially and locking that down. But that does not mean we aren't also focused on those opportunities that present themselves in the local market and the domestic market. The other aspect of this project that is interesting to us, especially those of us from the power sector, is the ability of this facility to integrate into the New Zealand electricity system and provide that demand flexibility that's been spoken about this morning. It's a low-cost way of doing that, and the technology largely is flexible. So there'll certainly be some constraints around how that flexibility works, and there'll also be some commercial aspects or constraints that need to be factored in as the offtake agreements are secured. So for those, just to reiterate around flexibility, it's this management of dry years that our system suffers from time to time. So the idea being, as our hydro lakes recede, this plant will dial back production and provide that energy back into the system. So just wanted to cover off a bit about the participants and how we got to this point, because I think it's really important. We started this process back in 2021, and at that time it was alongside Contact Energy, and we ran a process, went to market to see what sort of interest there was in supporting this project and partnering. We received a huge amount of response to that initial initial marketing, and received something like 100 responses back. Of those, in the order of 20 were potential partners with real capability to join this venture. The process was robust. Murihiku Regen were represented in the final stages of that selection process, but at least from Meridian's perspective, we felt the sense of responsibility in bringing an offshore partner or partners to our shores to do a project like this. And what were we looking for? Obviously, this is an asset class that Meridian wasn't hugely familiar with, or flat out isn't familiar with. So, we were looking for capability and, around how you operate a facility like this, how you develop it, and in particular, how you build a safety case around it. In addition, alignment of vision and a good culture fit were important to us as well. So why Woodside? And this, as I said, was an 18-month process. I think looking back on notes on how we summarised it, Woodside differentiated themselves with a level of transparency and depth of understanding, particularly across some of those areas. So, operational capability, process safety, and also marketing. And you would have seen yesterday during Jason's presentation, Woodside have achieved, what Woodside have achieved in LNG really does play well for what the challenge ahead is for us as we go down this green ammonia path. So yeah, as we sit here today, we are very happy to be alongside Woodside and Mitsui, with the support obviously of Murihuku Regeneration and the stakeholders in this room. It's going to take more than us and our respective organisations to get this over the line. So look, we're really looking forward to getting stuck into this. And look, with that, I think I'll hand over to Gabrielle, who will talk about how Mitsui entered into the project as well.
Thanks, Murray.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Gabrielle Takawinoa, ko Perth aho. Tatupuni, I'm committed to continue to work on my pronunciation. I'm Gabrielle Pennock from Woodside Energy, based in Perth in Western Australia. I work in the new energy team. So as Murray mentioned, Jason Creason is the Vice President for that area of the business, and we're looking at new ways of generating energy globally and getting greener products into the market as well. With Woodside, we always take a partnership approach, so we work directly with people to get these challenging projects into the market. So as Murray mentioned, there's a lot of parallels that we see with the LNG market and North West Shelf joint venture that we set up in the 1970s. So at that time, that was a really challenging project. We looked at getting partners across the value chain. Mitsui was one of our core foundation partners there as well. And part of it was we actually partnered directly with a lot of our competitors. We realised the scale of what we were trying to produce in order to get the plant to a size that was economically viable and had those direct links all the way through that delivery value chain right to the end markets was key. So those relationships that we formed over more than 46 years have kind of been key to underpinning that development and the large scale of that development, and we've done multiple expansion projects over the years to continue to deliver the LNG products to markets. So we do see, as Murray mentioned, a lot of parallels with that LNG market and trying to deliver a new product and a new project into an emerging market. And we do see this partnership aspect is really key. And it's not just working with the partners directly in the project, but also working with Murihuku Regeneration and Ngāi Tahu as key inputters into the project and current and future partners, and also working with the community as well at the centre of that. The partnership in terms of those new energy products, definitely, as mentioned, Mitsui has been and will continue to be key for that, because the key challenge that we're looking at is developing this product into a market that doesn't yet exist. We see it as an emerging market, but there's obviously a lot of risks to manage along the way. So we're taking a bit of a leap of faith together that as we continue to develop out, that market will develop and that will come together in order to enable a final investment decision to take place on this project. I think it's probably a good point, Oki and Jason, if you're prepared to say a few words in terms of Mitsui's contributions to the project. In terms of the export markets that we're looking at and where we're targeting the use of this first tranche of ammonia.
Thanks, Kate.
てなことかとこ望む大きいアホ So I'm okay. So from Mitsui, so based in Singapore. So let me explain about the marketing approach. So as for the marketing, so Mitsui and Woodside will lead the international marketing activities for export for the project. So we are now targeting the new market for the green ammonia. So especially in Asia countries, so such as Japan, Korea, and Singapore. So main usage of the green ammonia will be the replacement of the coal. So at the coal-fired power stations. So technically, so ammonia can be utilized with coal up to 20% at this moment. And the mixture ratio so is expected to be increased in the near future. So this is a usage of our marketing ammonia. So then currently such a new market is not yet established. Then so also it's expected to take some more time, but we will pursue the long-term commitment with potential customers. So it's necessary for the project FID. Then so also, so we are assessing the potential usage of the ammonia or hydrogen, so for the domestic purpose, so to meet the potential demand in the South Island. So that's my brief explanation for the marketing.
Thanks, Oki. So as I'll probably go to the next slide now on the development approach. We had a lot less words on this slide originally, but the lawyers had a look over it and put a lot more words in there for me. They were keen to highlight, and I guess this is what we wanted to highlight to the audience today as well, that we're still finalising the commercial arrangements on the project. So that is taking time. So the arrangements we're putting in place are designed to be not just cover this development phase, but cover us for the full operational life cycle. So we're looking at 20+ year agreements, and we need to make sure we get these right now. So that's kind of progressing right now. In parallel, we're continuing to progress the technical work streams. So back in November, when it was announced that Woodside was being taken forward together with Mitsui, we committed to developing and working on those pre-feed phases. So what that means is that we're actually looking at developing the project basis of design that we can take forward into feed, and that forms the basis for the development concept. So this phase here is really about understanding all the risks that are involved in this development, putting mitigations in place, and also being able to really capitalise on some of the opportunities as well. So we need to make sure as we work towards an economic outcome that we're actually really clearly understanding that residual risk that we're happy to take forward into the next phase. The one aspect of the partnership to highlight is that the governance arrangements that we're currently looking to put in place include this dual operator approach. And that is trying to leverage the respective strengths from each of the partners that we all bring to this development. So the important aspect in any partnership is that everyone brings their own perspectives and everyone brings their own strengths to the table, and that everyone who's involved in that venture works for the benefit of the collective. And that's really the approach that we need here, is everyone bringing their strengths and working out what is best for the collective to take the project forward and to have that community involvement both from the outset and continue through the development phase and right through our operations phase as well. So the dual operator approach is quite unique. Woodside within the North West Shelf, we develop and we operate on behalf of our partners. We have other arrangements where we're non-operator, so we actually work directly with competitors to, and Wheatstone's a good example of that, where one of our competitors processes our gas on our behalf. So we kind of work in both different arrangements. The dual operator approach is something that has been looked at during this pre-financial investment decision phase. And so there'll be certain work streams that will be led by Meridian, work streams led by Woodside, and a joint marketing approach with Woodside and Mitsui for how we get this product to the market, and a partnership approach as well with Ngāi Tahu and Murihuku Regeneration to help enable a lot of the New Zealand-based processes that we're going to work through, and also that work with the local community to actually make that contribution and look at what are those pathways that we need to develop now and going into the project through development and operational phases as well. In terms of just the image that we've got on the slide, it's really just a picture to give you an idea of what the plant might look like. But two important things I just wanted to highlight with that is, firstly, that safety aspect, and in particular the focus on process safety. So when we look to lay out these plants, we look at safety is number one and minimising that impact on people and on the environment. So we do very early analysis work around what's that optimal plant configuration to minimise the impact that we're going to have. The second aspect is actually looking at, as I mentioned, these are 20+ year agreements that we have in place. So we always want to allow for a level of future expansion. So we need to look at what are the products that make sense today from when we start up the facility, and then what are those future opportunities in 5 years, 10 years time. So what does that market look like and where do we see it developing? So ammonia from day one, but where do the other opportunities for other products come in? And what are we going to allow as part of our development? So that will all become part of our design basis that we take forward. So we need to get that balance right as well between, obviously the economics need to be such that we can go forwards into the project, but we need to have that right balance of what we're investing in now versus what is that future expansion that we need to allow for future. The team has been to Invercargill a number of times, so we've started that discussions with a lot of the local community members, and there's a lot of familiar faces in the room, which is great. So engagements with ports, engagements with local stakeholders to look at how do we actually get the right input that we need to actually develop this design basis, and how do we make sure all those community considerations are taken into account, and how do we look to actually incorporate all that in that early design input. The phase that we're in now is really that opportunity to look at what can we do and how do we capitalise, is that value add piece. And then as you continue to progress into the development, once you've set that frame of your design, those opportunities, you make decisions and you move on. So we want to make sure we're making the right decisions and that we've optimised the concept to a stage that it actually gives us an economic outcome and also gives the right contribution to community. That starts with the Invercargill and the Southland community, and then extends more broadly to our offtake customers and that global community. We need those offtake locations to develop out their infrastructure requirements as well. So it's bringing all of that together on the scale and within the time frame that helps support the project. So with this slide here, I wanted to do a little reflection on, I was fortunate enough to attend some of the Monday STEM session, and just that passion in the room, and I think that dedication, having the students at the centre of these programs and all of that work to ignite a spark that can actually then lead to future, or line of sight to future career pathways, is absolutely key. If I look then towards what that context means for a major project, for me it's always the partnership is, at the core of the partnership is that community. So we need that community input, we need that community commitment, and we need that all to align to actually enable the project. So that's particularly why that early engagement with and support of Murihiku Regeneration and Ngāi Tahu is absolutely key, and also to hear from as many people in the community as we can to make sure we're making the right type of contributions to the community. And as I mentioned, we're talking about a decades-long relationship, so this is something that when we look to these major projects, it is that multi-generational approach that we take. So, just checking what I haven't covered off. Yeah, so that local and regional involvement will be started at the end of last year, and we'll keep going through all phases of the project. We'll look at developing what those construction philosophies look like, all those strategies for how we maximise the use of local content and how we're going to approach things. I think with the plant design, we've got lots of different options for how we operate and maintain, and we need to look at what's going to be the best outcome for the region. Is it kind of a constant maintenance? Is it a campaign maintenance where you plan for that and then you have periods of where different people come in, or what is that balance? And how do we manage that both as we're constructing and then as we go through into the operational phases of the project as well? And that's the type of planning that we have to do now, and take that into that feed phase as well. As Oki mentioned, we're looking at what that local market looks like. When would that be ready? What do we need to actually be able to enable that market as well, in parallel with the export market? And as Murray mentioned, in terms of the scale of what we're trying to do, that in itself, to get the economics, does need to be underpinned by an export off-taker. So it's working that in parallel with what are the local solutions, and then also what are those products that we can develop as we go through the project phases, and what do those other additional opportunities look like, as Jason talked yesterday a bit about the different carbon to products, and if the other potential new energy fuel options that are available. I'll maybe hand over to Murray to talk to the future generation in the region.
Yeah, look, we've touched on some of these aspects, but I think we've heard over the last day and a half that involvement of the community is really important, and we're looking to do a really good job of that. You should expect to see us a little bit more as progress ramps up, especially from the likes of that table there, and some of the Woodside folk as well. So, and at some point, I'd expect that we will have a permanent local presence here in the south. So, we're really looking forward to that. We want to hear and and get your thoughts on what the expectations look like as well. From where we sit, and I know we've heard a bit about this morning in terms of local leadership and how the region operates. From where we sit, I think you actually do a pretty good job. Yeah, we're really looking forward to continuing to engage with those that we have already, and the likes of Southport and Great South, and Terry's crew. Yeah, it's been great to date, and we need to keep that up. So yeah, all of that good stuff listed on that slide is where we want to focus, and we have a team that are itching to get amongst it. So with that, I think back to you, Terry.
I've got this, I'm not sure what Mike was passing the phones around for, but I've got a couple of questions, and thank you, that come over the website. Can you go faster, and what can we do to help? That's the, maybe Claude could actually answer that. You need a legally trained person to answer that, Murray?
Are we talking faster in terms of finalising the commercial agreements, or faster in terms of developing the project?
Just how can we actually speed? How can we speed the process up? As you just want to give a good news story here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and like I know there's lots of complications in this. There's the transportation. There's the power. There's is getting the product to the port. There's the deep water. There's a lot of complications, but I really shouldn't have chucked that on you. I don't mean to chuck that on the derogatory matter.
I'm happy to answer.
I just want to actually get to FDI.
Yeah. So I guess the key elements to any ammonia or hydrogen development are you've got your land solution. So we're still trying to land that one, and we're looking to do some geotechnical work at the moment to confirm what the preferred site location is. The power solution, how much power do we have? What does it look like? Is it a constant load? What type of flexibility do we need within the plant design? The water solution as well, which is quite closely tied to the land options. And then all of the analysis and environmental approvals associated with that as well. And yeah, basically de-risking things to the point where we're happy to proceed and take the project forward into the next phase. So I think Jason mentioned yesterday it's around a 5-year time frame from start to finish. That's why we are trying to move fast, which is why we agreed to progress technical in parallel with commercial. So this basis of design that we produce will be absolutely key. So there are some decisions we really need to land to make sure that we are focusing on the right concept and the right solution to take forwards into the next phase.
Well, we don't want Meridian to switch lanes and give it to another developer, the power, because they'll be wanting to sell it. But anyway, we'll leave that there. But look, do you have confidence? Look, this is a 0 to 10. And just answer it with dignity and respect. Do you have confidence that this project will go ahead at this early stage? It's a 0 to 10, and it gives us some confidence. It gives the audience some confidence.
I think I can speak on behalf of Woodside in saying we wouldn't be here if we didn't have confidence that it will proceed like this.
So that's a 10.
Yeah. I had to worry.
Yeah, I'll go at 10 too, Terry.
Okay, cool.
I kind of like what Tom said earlier. This sort of project will get done. This project will get done. It's just a matter of when.
Well, we've got an audience here that's going to hold you to 10.
I had to do.
Tēnā koutou katoa. I'm another Jason. There's lots of them here these last 2 days from Mitsui, New Zealand. So I'm working with Oki-san in Singapore and our headquarters in Japan. Wouldn't want to put a number on it, but
It was 10.
yeah, there you go then. We're here to make it a success from our part. Mitsui does things for long term, and we do have experience doing this type of project in other countries around the world. There is a clear need in Japan for green hydrogen and ammonia. They've just got a lot of coal plants that they need to decarbonize, and they can't go to nuclear. It's not 100% fixed that they'll go straight to green. There are other options, but it's something that we see is pretty clearly on the cards in the short to mid-term. So, yeah, we're here to do what we can to make the project a success.
Thanks, Jason. And look, thanks to the panel, and it was very, very well perceived. If there's any more questions, just signal them over through the website. But I just urge you to actually Google Mitsui and also Google Woodside and Meridian Energy, and then you'll know the value of what's sitting here in the room. I wouldn't like to estimate it. I tried to estimate it yesterday, but there's quite a value of billions of dollars sitting here, probably about half to $1 trillion. So that's what's sitting in this room here that's come down to actually support Southland and get ahead in renewable energy and probably be leaders in the decarbonisation in New Zealand and you know, supply the gas, well, the hydrogen and the ammonia that can actually achieve that, because we have to actually start. We have to decarbonise by 2050 anyway. Thank you. Big head.